What you're about to watch is taken from one of our live Tuesday night broadcasts. That's right. Every Tuesday night, we do a live streaming show on YouTube where we interact with viewers, we talk about a lot of things going on in culture, we play some games, and of course, we give away a lot of stuff. If you like what you see here, be sure to subscribe and then come and join us on a Tuesday night. We would love to chat with you there. That's Tuesday nights, 8 Central, 9 Eastern, right here on Super Squad D.
Wow, there's a lot going on.
There's so much to talk about. Oh my gosh.
In fact, I already see our friend Tyler Holland saying it in there that he feels like it gave away way too much, which is the common complaint with this trailer.
Yeah, but I kind of disagree.
I disagree too. Do you want to go ahead and start with that?
Yeah, let's start with that. Give away too much.
All right.
Here's why I disagree. I hope that I'm right. I'm afraid that I'm not. I'm afraid that you're right, Tyler. Here's what I think, though. I think that the majority of what we saw in that trailer, at least 60 to 40, was him in his Amazing Spider-Man suit that Tony gave him.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and say, and that barge scene was amazing.
Really,
that ferry
really
scene,
good.
you're jokey, he's
Really,
fighting
really.
these guys, and the Vulture just shows up, and, it gets real fast. And Iron Man shows up to save him. We do know that Iron Man takes the suit from him.
Yes.
And that is a huge plot point that I actually love. I really like that plot point. But I'm going to go ahead and say that happens within the first 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I
think
absolutely.
it happens within the first 30 minutes. So the only scenes that we actually get are fight shots between him and the Vulture post him in that suit. Because everything else, it looks like it revolves around him in his, Iron Man made suit. So I'm hopeful that the stuff that we saw, while it did spoil some, is really just the first 30 minutes of the movie. And there's going to be another hour and a half after that of stuff we haven't seen.
I feel like we saw the barge scene as the initial conflict between Spidey and Vulture. I feel like that's it, and then there's so much more going on there. And this is it. All right, if they showed the whole movie, okay, if that was, and we'll have to wait and see when it comes out, but if that was, way too much information, they probably did it because, and these are my two theories.
Okay.
All right, number one, if they did it, it's because they're nervous about people being skeptical because of the relative failure of Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
All right? So maybe they're trying to make sure they show a lot so that people see it and
That's
go,
interesting.
Oh.
So maybe if they are showing a lot, that would be why. That's a good thought.
Yeah. And then, but my other thought is they're not showing too much. I think that they showed a lot of what is going to be maybe the first half hour, and I think there's a lot of depth to this movie.
Yeah.
I
hope so.
We didn't really see any of Don Glover, Mr.
Yeah.
Don Glover.
Don Glover, who we don't know exactly who he's playing, but we think he's playing the Prowler, which is interesting because I think his name is Hobby Brown. In the comics, the Prowler is Miles Morales, who's the new Spider-Man from Ultimate Spider-Man. That's his uncle. And so it would be interesting if they're already developing that for, maybe even 5 to 10 years down the road, that character and that family. Also, I think it's also kind of a cool touch because if you guys remember, the whole reason Miles Morales got made, or one of the biggest reasons, is that when Amazing Spider-Man came out and Andrew Garfield got cast, there was a big push on the internet for Donald Glover to be cast as Spider-Man. And a lot of people, myself included, thought it would have been really cool to have an African-American Spider-Man. And in a response to that, they were like, why don't we make a new Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe at the time? He wasn't in the normal Marvel Universe. Why don't we make him African-American? And that was really cool. So it's kind of cool how Donald Glover helped create that character, and now he might be playing that character's uncle in the live-action movie. I also really liked, we got a shot, it's hard to see there, of the Shocker, who's also in that movie. It's going to be Shocker and the Prowler, who look kind of like Vulture's henchmen. So I'm really, really excited about both of those roles and nervous.
It's because that's so subtle that those things are thrown in there that I think it's why we have a whole lot more to wait and see. I don't think the trailer actually gave away as much as we think that it did.
Yeah.
And I like the fact Dan Williams pointed it out. The license plate reference. One of the reasons I do think that is the first conflict that we actually have early on of Spider-Man and Vulture is because there's a license plate on the barge that says, I looked it up so I can get it right. License plate says SM2 0563. The first appearance of the Vulture was Amazing Spider-Man number 2, published May 1963.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really
so little
cool.
Easter egg there.
That is actually really, really cool.
The car that's like the Vulture's basically hiding in is where that's coming from. So
Attack asks, is his friend in the comic books? The answer is yes, yes, and no. His friend, and this is just really bothers me. One of the things that bothers me most about
what
this
bothers
movie,
me is that answer you gave.
I know.
Please explain.
So his friend in the comic books looks identical to Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man's best friend, whose name was Gonk or Gonky. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Ganke.
Okay.
But identical looking. Like when I saw him in the announcement that he was in the movie, I was like, it's Gonk. That's awesome.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
I thought they were bringing him and going to pair him with Peter. Instead, they're going with a character named Ned Leeds, who has been in a lot of Spider-Man comics, but I just don't understand why they actually cast someone who looks identical to Gonk, but made him a different character, Ned Leeds. It was just a really...
I don't know. It could. They might have done that as a nod to
Maybe.
the Ultimate Spider-Man series. Who
Perhaps.
knows? Maybe
But, so your answer is yes, he is in the comics and kind of in two places at once. Oh boy, we got a lot of great discussion rolling in here. We have...
it's actually been sitting there for a while.
It has. I'm sorry. Oscar asks, will they give a wink to Venom?
That's
and
what
we're
I'm
going to
very
talk
curious
about that.
No, we can talk about it right now. Go ahead.
sure?
We'll jump back to Spider-Man. Talk about Venom for just a second.
So
Hot second, y'all.
here's something that's interesting. And I really wish the movie Life came out as a sidebar. I heard it was really good. I haven't seen it, but it's about discovering life on Mars, this organism. And there was a rumor going around on the internet for a little while that was an unofficial Venom prequel, which would have been incredible, but no, it wasn't. But here's what's interesting about Sony decided they were going to make a Spider-Man centered universe of their own with Venom and I believe Spider-Girl, maybe Silk. I can't remember. There's like 3 or 4 Spider-Man related films that are coming out, but they were originally not going to be set in the cinematic universe. And right now, Venom, and we're going to make a separate video on Venom and our thoughts on that. But Venom, right now they're trying to decide between making it a PG-13 movie and a rated R movie.
Which I'm torn about because I really can't see Topher Grace in an R-rated movie. You know, I just don't think
know. I mean, that's a really good point. But they want to make it like a sci-fi horror movie, so I don't know that they're going to actually give Venom a wink or a nod in this movie because I don't think they know what they want to do. There was a rumor going around that they were also, or actually I think they said this, that they were considering splitting from Marvel after this movie and just producing their own sequel to Spider-Man, which I think would be a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I hope that this is just a completely unfounded rumor because it's coming out so early. The news is coming out so early. I hope it's completely unfounded because that doesn't make any sense.
If they did it, it would most certainly be to do exactly what you're saying, to tie into all their other Spider-Man properties that Marvel's probably not going to tie into because Marvel doesn't have access to them. But I think it would be really crappy because here's what would happen. They would release Spider-Man Homecoming, which I'm calling it right now, you heard it first here, will be $1 billion movie. It will be the first Spider-Man to actually hit $1 billion. Then Infinity War will come out with Spider-Man, and that will be, I think, the 4th movie to hit $2 billion. Calling it now. Infinity War will hit $2 billion. Off the coattails of that, it would be incredibly crappy of Sony to take advantage of how Marvel, take advantage is a loose term, but to then push Marvel away and say, we're going to do our own movie and try to tie into our own universe, because really they're riding off of the coattails and the success of both Spider-Man Homecoming and Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah. I don't know.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Let's jump back to Homecoming now. We had to go off
Sorry,
that tangent.
guys. Sorry, it's bothering me.
There was a lot that you had to say. Dan Williams just say he doesn't think there'll be that much more Iron Man in it. Marvel isn't going to give them that good of a deal. I am totally all about that, and I hope that's the case. One of the things that I'm not really into in this trailer is how prevalent Tony Stark is. Like, I get that we love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. I get all that. I really dislike in movies and TV shows the overuse of a particular character. I was mimicking you. That was what you're doing. It was pretty good. the overuse of a particular character just because they're popular. We see it a lot in shows. Like, oh, we need to capitalize on this. Let's put Stewie Griffin and Family Guy on every single scene, everywhere, because he's the popular one. That sort of thing. So I hope that we can avoid doing that. I like the inclusion of him. I like that's the tie-in to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. But what I'm kind of worried about, because I just feel weird about them taking one of the absolute most popular superheroes of all time in Spider-Man and I'm worried that they're going to make him into a kid that Tony Stark has to babysit.
Okay, so you're worried that Iron Man's going to overshadow Spider-Man a little
Exactly, which is why I'm hoping that Dan is absolutely right here in that this trailer is about all that we see out of Iron Man. Maybe the first 30 minutes, he takes the suit away and all that
I kind of think it will be, given some of the plot that we saw from the second half of the trailer, in that one of the big plot points is that he takes the suit away, and then Peter is like, I have to do this on my own. So I kind of think you're right. My concern, I love seeing Robert Downey in there. I love the connection. I actually like the mentorship relationship.
Yeah, I'm fine
But
with
here's the thing. Robert Downey Jr. gets all of the best lines in this trailer.
Yeah.
He gets all of the best lines, and he is like one breath away from saying, with great power comes great responsibility. And if he says that, that's where I draw the line. Like, you were cool, Iron Man, but you don't give Spider-Man that line. You do not get to do that. So I hope that doesn't happen. I'm nervous that it will. Yeah. But overall, I like him being in there, and I kind of think you guys are right. I think Dan, you're spot on.
Yeah, I would hope so. If they overuse that, then I think it's disrespectful to the character of Spider-Man if they overuse Tony Stark and Iron Man's personality or popularity in this particular video. I don't think they will.
Yeah,
I think they're smart enough.
How about that? How about when he tells him that if he doesn't need the suit, then he shouldn't wear it at all. Or if he needs the suit, then he shouldn't wear it at all. I'm like, is that hypocritical coming from a man who only has an Iron Man suit? But I did remember Iron Man 3 and how he spent a lot of time out of the suit. And it seems like, just from the basic...
You remember Iron Man 3?
Yeah, you didn't like it?
It caused so much damage to me emotionally that I've completely blocked it out.
Fair enough. I like the plot point as well. Speaking of what Iron Man is doing outside of the suit, in the trailer, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a blip on the television screen, and it said Iron Man or Tony Stark's cleanup efforts. And so it really looks like maybe Tony Stark is taking some responsibility for the damage that he's caused, not only with Ultron, but in Civil War, and is trying to clean up.
And that's kind of what the plot of Civil War was about. Tony continuing his crisis of
and taking responsibility. And so in this trailer, we see that the Vulture and his character, like the whole thing about Adrian Toomes is that he has a company who goes in and they actually clean up all the mess that the Avengers make. And he makes a bunch of money off of it, and they take the technology from them and he repurposes it for himself. So like that suit that he had was a mixture of Falcons, though way cooler than Falcon's wings, right? Those wings were awesome. They could grab people. I'm like, Falcon needs to call that guy.
Yep.
But they take the suit and he uses the technology alongside a character named the Tinkerer, who wasn't in this trailer, but it is going to be in the movie. And so, in a way, that's how he gets his name. He's a vulture. He goes in after the Avengers, destroys stuff, and he picks stuff.
It's wordplay.
It is.
It's wordplay.
And now Tony Stark is muscling in on his territory. He might be doing it for free. He's clearly taking government contracts and jobs that were going to the Vulture, and the Vulture's just had enough, and he's just fed up with it. So I like that kind of a development. It makes sense for his character of the Vulture.
While we're on the Vulture, Michael Keaton's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Michael Keaton's awesome.
So amazing.
He's great. He looks great in this trailer. He looks like he's going to just rock it as the Vulture. I'm so excited to see what he does there. Because the Vulture is one of those characters that I feel like gets overshadowed a lot in Spider-Man. We think about the guys that have been, already in Spider-Man movies. We think about Green Goblin. We think about Dr. Ock. We think about we think about all those characters.
You don't really think like Vulture's cool.
Yeah.
Like normally you're like the Vulture? What?
It's pretty great.
But I mean, he nails it. He's got a market on flying characters, I feel like. Batman, Birdman, Vulture. Yep. Like who's next?
He's probably played a pilot, just a generic pilot in some movie.
I'm sure he has. Maybe you guys can let us know. Maybe you guys can let us know. But I'm excited for the movie. I'm like overly hyped.
I'm excited for that fake laugh you just got. Hey, real quick though, what did you think? You said you really liked Spider-Man's costume. I like the look that they gave it. But what do you think of Spider-Man's homemade costume?
I love it even more.
The homemade costume is a pretty sweet homage to some of the different comic book characters.
And I really, first of all, the hoodie. And at one point, the Vulture holds him up by his hoodie.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, maybe a hoodie's kind of impractical. Scarlet Spider-Man, Ben Reilly. Sorry, dude.
It's very much
That
a Scarlet Spider.
Turns out to be really impractical. But
I don't know what you're talking about. I still wear the same hoodie that I found in a Lost and Found 12 years ago.
fair enough.
So.
Fair enough. I wondered exactly how they were going to do. I mean, just both of the costumes. Like, I wondered about, like, were they going to change up the costume too much with technology? Like with Iron Man, like we're going to get like Iron Spider-Man. But how brilliant was it that the costume like just kind of drapes over you and then it airtight seals? That was freaking brilliant.
Really
like
good.
That was incredible. And then his buddy Gunk, JK, it's Ned Leeds. I get confused. That his buddy puts on the mask. That was hilarious. The most tragic scene, though, I think we can both agree. We can all agree. At home, I know you can agree. The most tragic scene in the trailer was when Ned Leeds drops an entire Death Star Legos. Like, that thing took hours to build.
Was that the Death Star?
Yeah, when he sees Peter come in, he's like, "You're the Spider-Man from YouTube," which was great, because we're the guys from YouTube, so it's like basically...
Basically the same.
We're basically the same
Basically
thing.
the same.
But he dropped the Death Star Lego, and that was very disappointing to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Was there anything else in the trailer? I mean, I could have seriously talked about it all
we could talk
day.
about it for forever. Let us know all the stuff
The
that...
CG did not look great, by the way. When he was swinging over the pool, right before that, did you notice that? It reminded me, just to be fair to the Batman versus...
It was like a half-second scene I didn't really notice.
The Justice League Cyborg CG that we talked about. I feel like I got to mention that. In the spirit of fear. Woohoo! Yippee!